On the dark night of 9th September 1980, a supersized cargo ship was battling the waves in the Pacific Ocean. This ship, which is bigger than Titanic and 16 floors high, would not be wrong to be called a steel fortress. But after just a few hours, there was no trace of it left. Neither any radio signal was received, nor any floating debris was found in the ocean. How did a ship weighing millions of tons suddenly disappear without a trace? For the 20 years, the authorities told the world only one thing: that the ship had sunk. But when the father of one of the crew members began to investigate the truth, everyone was shocked to see what was hidden beneath the sea. Welcome to Talks on Topics. On the evening of 9th of September 1980, an enormous cargo ship MV Derbyshire was heading towards Japan, cutting through the deep waves of the Pacific Ocean. But at that very moment, another guest from the east was heading toward him. Typhoon Orchid was a storm that was becoming more dangerous with each passing hour. MV Derbyshire had been traveling continuously for the last 8 weeks, crossed the Atlantic Ocean after lifting 150,000 tons of iron from a Canadian iron mine. Passing by the southern coast of Africa and crossing the waves of the Indian Ocean, it was now close to its final destinations. There were 42 experienced people on the ship, including engineers, helpers, and experts. Now we were just counting the last few hours of our journey. But perhaps destiny had something else in store. The ship's captain, Jaffrey Underhill, who had 20 years of experience, was responsible for this mission. His wife had also come to Japan from England, but their meeting would now remain only a dream. For several days, Captain Underhill had been relying on weather reports. He had seen many such storms in his career. He was confident that the Derbyshire could easily withstand the typhoon. Safe harbor was also quite far away at this point. Therefore, fighting the storm was the last solution. The captain reduced the speed and turned the ship's direction slightly towards the waves. Ships typically do this during a storm to maintain stability. The captain also sent an emergency message in which he warned about the situation and also sent the current location of the ship. But the storm's anger was increasing. The waves had become more than 10 meters high. Some had even reached the length of Derbyshire. At 1,000 feet long, the Derbyshire was longer and wider than the Titanic, and as tall 16-story building. This was no ordinary ship, but a state-of-the-art steel fortress built to withstand the world's most dangerous oceans, and that is why Typhoon Orchid seemed like a routine to the captain. But something was going to happen in the dark depths of the ocean that no one had ever imagined. That same night, 2 other Bahraini ships were also battling the typhoon. But the next morning, both the ships reached the port safely. But there was no trace of MV Derbyshire. This steel fortress suddenly disappeared without a trace. For the next 20 years, the world could not understand what had happened that night. On the evening of 9th September 1980, MV Derbyshire sent its last radio message. After that, there was no distress call, no final message, and then a terrible period of silence for the next 6 days. The ship's owner also did not report it missing. Perhaps they believed that the radio contact had been lost and that Derbyshire would be seen again somewhere along the Seahorse. But as the days passed, there was no news from Derbyshire. On 15th of September, for the first time, concerns were raised about the ship's disappearance. An international search mission was launched. Helicopters, airplanes, naval ships all scanned the ocean floor for Derbyshire's final coordinates, but not even a single piece of such a large ship was found, floating anywhere. After 6 days, the search operation is stopped. The authorities dismissed the matter by saying that the sea had simply swallowed him up. A conclusion was drawn hastily without any investigation. The news coverage ended as quickly as the search operation and investigation. The families of the crew of the MV Derbyshire sent several requests, but were told that there was nothing worth investigating. The family of the deceased could not digest this. He felt as if something was benign, deliberately hidden. MV Derbyshire is a steel, all-metal ship built just 4 years at the famous Swan Hunter shipyard in Britain. A ship that could more than 1.5 lakh tons of cargo and which could lift 4 times more load than the ships of 20 years ago. But this time, it was not just about size. The design was also new, and the Derbyshire was an OBO carrier. This was a new age ship that could carry oil on one side and iron ore on the other side. Its biggest advantage was to reduce shipping costs, and because of this, it never returned empty. If oil was released, it would take back the iron ore. This means the ship will always be running and will keep giving profit to the company. MV Derbyshire could generate up to 30% more revenue than traditional ships. It was counted among the bridge-class ships, and at that time only 6 such ships were available in the entire world. It was built by a shipyard named San Hunter in Britain. At that time, this company was facing many challenges because they were competing with Japanese and South Korean shipyards that were building the same ships more cheaply and quickly. San Hunter, which was once the uncrowned king of the world's shipbuilding industry. Now it was under a lot of pressure from Japanese and South Korean companies. They started cost-cutting, and perhaps this was where the secret of the sinking of MV Derbyshire lay. After this accident, many houses were plunged into darkness, but there was one person for whom this became not just a loss, but a mission. Peter Redyard lost his young son at Derbyshire. But Peter was not only a father, but also an experienced ship surveyor, who spent his life exploring the seas and ships. When Peter himself entered the field, he exposed a shocking truth. In 1982, just 18 months after Derbyshire disappeared, another bridge-class ship, the Tyne Bridge, was battling storms in the North Sea when the steel in the forward superstructure began to crack. The captain ordered a foreign evacuation, and the crew was airlifted to safety. Saving the ship in this accident was like a miracle, because perhaps nature also wanted to show the truth this time. When Peter inspected the ship carefully, he discovered that there were cracks on a portion of the front side of the ship. After reading some documents, Majid came to know that not only this, but cracks have developed in every bridge-class ship. And these cracks are occurring in only one place, and then these ships were secretly being called to ports for repairs. Not only this, Peter discovered another surprising thing. These ships were not built according to the original design plans. There were some parts that were hastily made away from the original design. Peter now had access to evidence that could potentially reopen the MV Derbyshire investigation. Peter collected all this evidence and sent it to the Department of Transportation. But instead of taking any action, he just said that proper investigation of the sinking of Derbyshire has now been done and there is no plan for a new inquiry. The authorities turned a deaf ear, but the families of the deceased opened their mouths. In 1984, he formed the Derbyshire Family Association, whose sole aim was to expose the truth. Another bridge-class ship named Kowloon Bridge was launched in November 1986. It grounded due to cracks in the sea near the coast of Ireland. While passing through the rough seas of the Atlantic, its hull, which was already weakened, could not withstand the shocks of the sea. The Kowloon Bridge was the last of the 6 bridge-class ships that had not undergone the significant repair work that Peter had found in the other ships. But this time, the British government did not remain silent and decided to open a new investigation again. Peter and other families saw a ray of hope. For the next 6 months, various experts gave their opinions in this investigation. Some blamed the design, some blamed the ocean. But in this investigation, no attention was paid to all the evidence presented by Peter. The evidence that directly pointed to structural failure was cleverly suppressed. The investigation report stated that no evidence of structural failure was found in MV Derbyshire and the bridge-class ships. The Derbyshire was just another ship that fell victim to the waves of the ocean. This report was no less than a slap on the face for the families who had been fighting this battle for the last several years. After the second investigation, the families were losing their courage. All he had to say was that the secret of Derbyshire is not hidden in the ocean, but in the system. But those families never lost courage. In 1994, a private investigation team was formed in collaboration with the International Transport Workers Federation. Everyone together bore the cost of this mission, and a plan was made to search for MV Derbyshire in the sea after 14 years. Amazingly, in just 23 hours, the surface was 4 kilometers below the sea level. Below, Derbyshire has been found in one piece. This was indeed a huge success. But to solve this mystery, photographs of every part of the ship were taken inside the eye. And the investigation continued for the next years. After 6 years, the entire truth came out in the investigation report. I learned that there is a store at the front of the ship which is called Beau's Store. Important items for deck maintenance and kept in this store, like ropes, tools, chains, etc. That night, as the MV Derbyshire was benign tossed about in the waves during a storm, the bosun's store door, which was not built to the original design, suddenly broke and began filling with water. Thousands of gallons of water filled through bosun's stores, causing the bow of the ship to become heavy, and the bow majestic sank into the water. Now the waves were hitting from a greater height, due to which the ventilators broke and water entered the machinery room. The Derbyshire's bow tilted further, and then a huge wave ripped off the hatch cover of the container the size of a tennis coat, containing iron ore. Now, first one container got filled with water, due to which the next part went down further, and within no time, all the containers sank under water one by one, and then Derbyshire, which was Britain's largest vessel, sank in the darkness of the Pacific Ocean. When the investigation report was published, it was found that all the bridge-class ships built by the company had cracks near the bosun's store, and all the hatch covers were fragile and not made as per standard. Initially, the families thought that perhaps there was some structural failure in the ship. But investigation revealed that there was no major design fault, but a great steel fortress sank due to minor negligence. Many ships sank every year during the 1970s. For the authorities, it had become a normal thing and a numbers game. But the Derbyshire family exposed the shipping industry through their own private investigation. After new ship designs came into existence, rules became more stringent and more attention was paid to safety inspection. He not only invented a ship, but forced the change of an entire industry. Even today, many of the rules in the shipping industry were created because of MV Derbyshire, which itself lies silently on the ocean floor 4 kilometers below the Pacific Ocean. I hope everyone like and share Talks on Topic.